Why is it not going online? There it goes.
All right, Jeremy, can you hear me? Hey!
Hey, we're live! We got it to work! Yay!
Progress.
You can't defeat us, technology! Well, it can. It just by making us feel useless. That's a whole completely different method of defeating.
Well, I have no idea what Discord's problem is. It just straight up does not want to work.
I don't either. I've had good luck with Discord. I really enjoy it. It's a shame we can't get it to work. Maybe we just need to get you a dedicated microphone.
Maybe. When I tried downloading it, and it was like, oh yeah, no, sorry, something in there is corrupt and it's just not going to work. It's like, bullshit.
Hey, thank you for the follow, SD Cowboy 85. So, welcome everyone to the Sunday afternoon stream. We actually have people in chat, which is a nice change of pace. And apparently I have a notice on my tablet. So, today's going to be a little different.
I should make sure my phone's on silent.
Well, I have my tablet set up so I can see chat without having to turn my head, since my paint station is set up opposite from where my computer is.
Dual monitors, man.
If I ever have money again, I'll buy one. So, as you can tell, and as you should have read from the numerous notices I posted on the Facebook group, we have a special stream today because we have Spencer with us.
Hello.
And for those who don't know, Spencer is a fellow member of the Geek of Spades YouTube and Facebook group, channel, organization thing. Yeah.
Organization sounds so official. That's professional.
No, that's definitely not us. So we're going to be doing a special stream today. Obviously, Spencer does not have video. If I knew a way that we could both paint on stream, I would probably have set that up. But the only thing I could think of was a Google Hangout, and that wouldn't happen on Twitch. Yeah. So he's going to be hanging out with us in chat and vocally. I mean, if Spencer's working on stuff at home, that's cool too. But we'll never see it.
But you don't want to see what I'm working on. You don't want to see that horribleness.
All right. So the idea here was we had some requests from some of the folks in chat. When I mentioned that I still interact with some of the folks that I worked with at BTP, they had questions, and I didn't always have answers. So I figured of all the people that I know who would be willing and or able to do something like this, you, Spencer, are the one who has the most answers and the most opinions.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm just the most vocal and angry. That's what it boils down to.
Well, it also helps that unlike me, Ben, and Zach, you worked upstairs.
Yeah, I was the only one of the four of us who worked administration. So
yeah, so
I had the most direct interactions with Commodore Gately.
Is Commodore the right word? That makes it sound like he can...
I think Commandant is what I want.
Okay.
I don't know.
I feel like in a way the appropriate title would have been Commissar.
Probably.
You can't obey my commands, I shoot you in the head.
He would have too. He could have gotten away with it.
True. Instead, he'll just garnish your wages.
Yeah. Instead, I just won't pay you this bit.
All right, so I am
painting?
painting my Guardia de Assalto.
Okay.
Spencer, can you turn your volume up any?
I could try.
See if you can get your mic a little louder. I can turn up the desktop audio, but it means the music's going to get louder too. Let me see if I can change any of my call settings. I don't want to mute microphone. That would be the wrong one. Audio settings.
There we go. I've got it at max volume right now. My mic's a little further down than I would like. I don't know where the other part of my camera stand is.
All right, I've gone ahead and turned up the quote-unquote speaker volume in Skype, so hopefully that'll help a little bit.
Hopefully.
We'll see if it does.
Not maybe. Hold on. Let me try something. I'm gonna mute myself real
Okay.
quick. If I can. Hold on. We haven't used Skype in so long. Like I don't know how to do
I know.
this.
I think the last time I used Skype was when we all played Talisman. That one time.
Yeah. We'll tell you what, I'm going through your system, so just mute me real quick, if you can.
What? Say what now?
Never mind. Everybody's just gonna have to deal with the noise. Moving my setup a little closer here.
Okay.
I don't really need to play with my mouse, so. Is that better?
I don't know. Chad, is that better? Ryan, is the audio better?
Should I just get in real close?
Go all ASMR on this.
They're complaining they can't hear me.
Would it be going all ASMR or would it be going all NPR?
Oh. See, this is why you guys should get married to smart people. My wife's a genius.
What'd she do?
She grabbed 2 of our really thick-ass books and put them under my camera to act as a makeshift mic stand.
That works, yeah.
Yeah. And it's not like we're in short supply of thick-ass books here.
This is true. Alright, so Ryan says it's a little bit better. So we're going to have to live with it the way it is, because I don't think there's a whole lot more we can do to adjust it. I can't think of anything I can do on my end.
Here, we're gonna throw another couple of books under real quick.
That's like throwing shrimps on the
There we go.
Barbie,
Now-
but not
now
quite
it's
as delicious.
See, it's like throwing chips
It
at a
says like
car.
throwing shrimps on the Barbie.
Oh, shrimps on the Barbie. That makes so much more sense. Alright, I think that's as good as we're gonna get.
All right.
So I, end up buying myself a proper microphone, which won't be for a while anyway. But
Yeah, you probably don't have as much need for it as I do.
Well,
Not that I needed this
the first
blue
step
snowball when I bought it, but yeah.
well, for me, the first step is buying a desktop that I could actually stream on, then investing in a microphone.
That'll be helpful.
Yeah.
All right, so as Spencer pointed out, he asked what I'm painting. I'm working on my Infinity Guarda de Assolto. Just the Guarda. I've got the Oxbot right here, and he's still very much primed. So I'll be working on that for a little bit here. If I finish him, then last night I tried to make some progress on my Drago back here, and now he's kind of light piss yellow. So I'm gonna have to do some stuff on him.
I was just like, gee, the Skittles? They're too big for Skittles.
So if you guys have any questions for either of us about our time at Blue Table Painting, maybe Spencer's extremely knowledgeable about things going on in gaming in general. So I'm sure he'd be happy to field questions for that stuff. I mean, you used to be a professional writer for a gaming magazine.
And now,
And now you're a novelist, yes.
So there you go.
So any questions?
Actually,
Any questions you guys have?
Printed out my first copy of the book
Ah,
yesterday.
and now you've given it over to your most vocal critic. So any questions you guys have, throw them up in chat. Spencer or I will answer them as best we can, hopefully to your satisfaction. And if it's not to your satisfaction, tough cookies. I didn't promise you good answers, just answers.
So, Jeremy, doesn't that guy come with the little the Oxbot?
He does.
Okay.
And I had him up on screen for about half a second.
Let's see. Artelgard?
His name's Ryan. Yeah.
Ryan. Okay. Ryan, to answer your question, Sean was basically always crazy. He really kind of adopted that persona, and never really let it down. You know, he was always very, very vocal. And kind of frustrating to work for, to be honest. He had his moments where you're just like, oh, but that doesn't make any sense. Right? It definitely could have been worse, but it could have been a lot better too.
I feel like when I started there, he was still a little sane. But then the whole thing with Rob happened, and that just broke him.
Now, Jeremy, were you there when Rob
Yeah,
was there?
he hired me.
Were you there for all that? Okay. Okay, I couldn't remember if you were.
I had my interview was with Rob and Shannon, I believe. Sean was not even involved in the hiring process when I got hired.
Okay. Yeah, I just couldn't remember. But yeah, when I first started, you know, it was kind of like, okay, he's a little eccentric, but whatever. But then when you're with him for 6 to 9 hours a day, it wears on you fast. Especially when he expects you to just do everything he could possibly want you to do. Like, but
Do this now, but I'm in the middle of doing something that's important. I don't care. Do this now because I want it done. Hey, Kenny.
I'm in the middle of doing something you asked me to do earlier. Jeremy, do you have a can or a jar of salsa next to your pants?
I use salsa and queso jars as water pots.
Oh.
Because 1, they're delicious, and 2, they have a lid.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. I just have a red Solo cup. I don't even think it's a Solo cup. I think it's a knockoff.
For those who may not be aware, next level
Totally.
painting, who currently just entered our chat, that is Kenny from Next Level Painting, The Long War, and Spiky Bits. Because I know Spencer, you might not know that, so wanted to make you aware.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, you kept doing all the streams while I was at work because I was doing night shifts for a while, and then I just never remember that you're doing them.
Oh, I see how it is.
Yeah.
Well, in a couple weeks here, different guy, not you. Oh, we got another follow. Who was that?
Yeah, I saw like a corgi earlier.
Yes, the follow notification is a corgi, and the donation notification is a penguin. So
You know me so well.
I did set up this Twitch channel with the intent that it would be the 4 of us streaming from time to time. It's just never happened.
Oh, it's a corgi swimming too. That's even better. Yeah, I intend to stream in the future. Like I said, I have to get a more powerful computer to do it.
Let me pull something up here real quick so I can see who that last follow was from.
It was
follows.
Arlu34A.
Oh, also, thanks for the host, Kenny.
During the house basement days? No, I started at Blue Table in 2012, late 2012. So I was always at the studio. I never had to deal with the house or any of that stuff. I was always at the studio there in downtown.
You're right. It was Arlu34A who followed a little bit ago. Thank you for the follow. Oop. Don't want to knock that over. I already broke one Infinity model today. My Knight of Santiago finally got sick of falling over and his arm fell off.
Oh no.
For
So I see you've got a doodad here for a new camera rig.
Yes.
Trying to up our game.
Yes. Right now, my camera rig is my webcam on a tripod, precariously perched between my knees. And so every time I move, I smack it.
With those big, powerful eyes.
So the idea is what I want to get, and I found a couple ways to do this, is I want to get a rig that will allow me to position, there's a couple ways you can do it. One is a bar that goes on top of a tripod that then extends out over your work area, and you can put the camera and have it facing straight down. The other is a kind of bipod thing that goes on the back of the desk, and you put the camera on top, and it can lean over and do that kind of thing. I would just like to take the camera out of the picture. Like, I need it there for the picture, but the idea would be that it no longer blocks my work area.
You want it
I want it out of the way. And there are ways to do that. And
well, so you've got two cameras going, right? You've got the one on the model and the one on your palette. So is the one on the palette the webcam, or is that
they're
the one
both
on the model?
webcams.
Oh, I didn't know you had
Yeah,
more than
I have a Logitech C525, which was my old webcam. And I have my Logitech C290, which is this one.
Were there any epic fights? I was pretty convinced that one day Zach was going to punch Sean in the face. Not necessarily fist fights, but screaming matches. Not really. We all did our best to keep our calm, and we just drank heavily after work. You laughing at me?
Yes.
That's what they had me for. I was
Ashley's here, only catching my side of the conversation. She's just kind of giggling at my alcoholism.
And for those who don't know, Ashley is Spencer's wife.
Yes, that would be my wife, an editor, and
Sometimes sugar mama.
awesome friend. No, she's not my sugar mama. I think we broke her a little bit.
I said sometimes.
You can always come over here and tell Jeremy off if you want.
Jeremy calls me your sugar mama?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I said
It's
sometimes sugar mama. I didn't say current sugar mama. It's only fair that sometimes Spencer has to be the sugar daddy.
It's true.
What was
the ultimate goal here is for me to bring in sweet novelist money, and then we'll just buy a house and be like, fuck it, we don't have to work.
I agree with you totally, Ryan. When Sean decided to shut down the basement portion of the studio last year, I lost all interest in watching studio updates. Half the fun was the personalities that were downstairs.
Oh, is that the basement? He's referring to the dungeon. The downstairs at the studio? Is that the basement he's referring to?
I assume that's what he's talking about in that question, the one posted at 201, but...
Okay, yeah, that... I was there for that. I was there for the two-level studio. When all the artists were downstairs, administration was upstairs. I didn't really think of that as a basement. I always thought that
A dungeon?
Cheap slave labor in the dungeon.
He's right, there were two. There was where we worked, the building on downtown, and then there was a previous one that was like a house with a basement.
Yeah, I remember he had the house. Yeah, his house. I think Tammy now has. But at that point there were only like 4 or 5 people, right? I think it was like him, Janine, Thomas, Joseph.
Well, I don't know. That was before I started even having an interest in BTP. So
Yeah, I mean that was before I was there as well. But Um, yeah, I wasn't part of that crew. I came in, like I said, in late 2012 when we had the studio that he lost or he sold.
I think he
don't
sold
know
it.
The whole story.
At least he said he sold it.
Yeah. Yeah, Mason and Roberto made some really cool stuff. Mason's orc conversions were big draws for the studio. I mean, that was one of the things I think brought a lot of people to Blue Table was seeing that kind of work. It would have been nice if this is going to come out sound really kind of crass and kind of like an assholey thing to say, but it would have been nice to see that extend to other stuff that wasn't just 40K. I get with like War Machine and Infinity, the models are metal. There's only so much you can do with them. But I was kind of sad to not see Mason put more conversion work into, say, his Warzone stuff. I mean, granted, I love the Warzone models. I think the Imperial models are really cool, but I kind of thought he would maybe at least futz with his Hurricane Walker. But I mean, it's completely his decision. I have no real say on what he did, what he didn't do. His work was amazing. Even if I don't care for 40K and I don't really care for Orcs as a faction, he did a lot of really cool stuff. And I was very happy for the short time that I was doing videos that I was actually able to show people his work. I mean, the Mountain King that he turned into a Gorkanaut, I think. Was that what he did?
It was a Gorkanaut.
Yeah. That was awesome, and that was really fun to be able to show off, to kind of be a part of with him. So, someone else. I'm trying to think of what other assemblers there were. I mean, Thomas was an assembler, and
Ren?
Maybe Ren. Yeah, Ren did some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah. I know there.
You're listing.
I'm what?
Your camera's kind of tilted.
Oh, I must have kicked it. That's still crooked. Gotta spread these out some. That's about as straight up as it gets. Yeah, I know there at the end, the only assembler who was in the studio was Drew, and he hated to be on camera, so he was never on camera. It was like he didn't exist.
Yeah. Yeah, Drew wasn't much. Drew was a worker. He wasn't a showman. I mean, he's a great guy. He was fun to hang out with, but he wasn't as much of a personality as someone like Mason.
Right. And I think the company and the studios really suffered from not having those personalities to put on camera. Just because, like that was what made me want to work there, was seeing Zach and Ben and Thomas and even Zane on camera during studio updates, just being ridiculous. That was my whole reason for wanting to work there, other than to check, getting paid to paint off my bucket list.
You'll notice that my name wasn't mentioned anywhere in that list.
You were never in the studio updates.
I know. I'm just giving you a hard time. Yeah. And that was one of the things that kind of brought me out, was the same sort of thing. I saw these people and I was like, oh, these are cool people, and they're fun and outgoing, and they're gamers, and I could get paid to do gaming stuff, and that would be so cool. And and to an extent, yeah, that was true. We got to hang out and talk nerd stuff all day and get paid for it. But on the other hand, it was kind of like, okay, so we're gonna talk about 2 games. Cool.
Well, we had bouts of other games. Like there was an Infinity League for a while, and then we did Warzone for all of a month.
Yeah, which sucked because I was always I was really pushing for it, and people there really seemed to like it. I mean, everybody at the studio who played said they had a good time. It was getting Sean to kind of go along with it.
That was always the hard part of any game that wasn't Games Workshop. Was getting Sean to sign off on it and say, okay, I'll give you guys credit for your battle reports and for doing videos and stuff on this.
Well, and then when you would want to do a battle report, you'd be like, oh yeah, we wanna film a bat rap or an in-depth look at some models or whatever it may be for game B, and he would go, oh, I guess if you have to.
What was the pay structure like, Ryan? It depended on what your job at the company was.
Yeah. Artists were paid by project. At least at the time that I left. Oh, let me rephrase that. Because when I started, I was paid hourly.
Yeah, same here.
And then they moved to project for the artist. So you got paid based on a percentage of what it costs the client, I think it was. I can't remember. When I was doing web store, I was paid commission based on how much stuff I put on the store. And then I managed to convince Sean that that he should let me do videos, and honestly, if it hadn't been for Shannon being there, I don't think I would have been able to do the videos, because he would have shot me down without her kind of stepping up and going, yeah, give him a try, let him do it. So when I was doing that, I was getting paid per video. It started off as, we'll pay you X amount of dollars per video, but you can only make a certain amount of videos per week, which I thought was kind of silly, but it was the bargain we had to strike in order to make it happen. But yeah, so I was paid commission for web store, and I was paid I guess sort of a pseudo commission for videos. I had tried to convince him to let me be like to pay me like X amount of money per minute for videos. And he's like, oh no, because then you do a bat rep and I'd have to pay you like $300. And I just looked at him, I was like, no, I won't make 6-hour bat reps. I've got to edit. And then when I left,
Grenler, thank you for the host. Sorry to interrupt you, Spencer. Just wanted to shout out to Grenler real quick for the host.
No problem. But yeah, when I left, I was being paid by the hour for the videos I did. I had managed to work that out, but I was still at that point. He was really Sean was really kind of cracking down on the videos I was doing, so he was definitely trying to limit how many videos I did, so he didn't have to pay me as much.
Oh yeah.
But it is what it is. I produced the videos I did, and people liked them from what I could tell.
Yeah, there was when you were doing the video production, there was definitely an uptake in views and likes on the videos that you produced that had editing and maybe a little sound stuff going on, and had the intro tag on it versus the slapdash.
And that was the thing. I think the other thing, and part of the reason that things went so sour for me, were the comments that people left on the videos saying, oh yeah, look, we can actually see stuff. Is this actually HD? Like, people really started calling it out. And I think that kind of pushed Sean over the edge in terms of not wanting me to do that sort of thing anymore. And I admit there were definitely a couple times where I would reply to comments with snarky little remarks of yeah, it's awesome. I'm trying to make this the norm for the studio, but some people are really fighting against it. So Anyway, yeah, we definitely saw a lot of people who were excited for
for
uh,
for an
HD.
improvement in the quality. I think it's one of the things that it was just hard to get Sean to understand was that because it was a miniature painting studio, it was important that we be able to show people what it is we're working on, show them the results of what it is that we produced at the studio. And Sean is very much a quantity over quality kind of person, especially when it comes to videos.
Yeah, that was his biggest problem. He hated the wait.
Yep.
Because the bat rep that you and Roberto played, I don't know how many of the folks in the chat are familiar with that one. They've seen it. It's Eldar versus Tau.
Escalation battle report.
Escalation throwdown, or whatever I called it. But that one, I mean, we filmed that in a day. I think that game took all of 2.5 hours to play, something like that.
You throw in super heavies, games go real fast.
Yeah, well, especially when you wipe out 3 of his big units in the first turn.
That always helps.
But, I mean, that video, it didn't take us long to film it, because, obviously, A, knowing the rules, B, not stopping every 3 minutes to make some dumb joke, whatever it may have been, and then he was real happy because he thought I would have the video up that same day, and I got it up like 2 days later. He goes, well, what took so long? I was like, well, I had to edit. He goes, what did you edit? I said, I edited out stuff that didn't work, checking rules, I think there was one point where I lost my grip on the camera a little bit, and, like, the whole thing kind of shook, so I obviously cut that little bit out. I was like, I filmed basically a whole game. I mean, there were certain parts where, we turned off the camera, if we knew we were going to be a minute. But I basically took 2.5 hours of footage and cut it down to, God, what was that video? Like an hour?
Something like that?
Hour and a half, something like that.
Not very long.
It's at least an hour of footage that got cut out, and he was super upset about it because he was like, oh, you should have had that up the same day. Rhino, no, this is about as good as we're going to get, unfortunately.
Well, there is one thing I can do. Go ahead and say something now, Spencer.
I like to do the cha-cha.
Is that better, Rhino? I just cranked up the desktop audio, so if everything just got real loud, that's why. Because I usually have the desktop audio set at about 1/3, about 33%. I just cranked it up to 66%. So I just doubled the desktop audio.
Everybody's saying it's way better. So to get away from Blue Table for a second, so Jeremy, you have your Drago in the background there. Is he just primed? I thought you would, or did you reprime him?
I hated the paint job I had on that.
That's right.
Because I painted it, for lack of any other word, BTP style.
The excessive dry brushing
and a couple of glazes called it good. And so I reprimed it after the first LVO I went to. I picked up some Stynylrez primers and decided to test them out on him. And so he's been sitting black and gray primed in a drawer or on my desk or sometimes in a case since then.
Did you ever pick up a was it the Seraph? Is that the other one?
I did pick up the Seraph. I actually have that one fully painted.
Shock can use.
The Seraph is military orders. It's the military order tag.
Military
The
orders.
Tikbalang just came out, and I would like to get it.
That's the one I was
it comes
thinking
with
of.
a Ulan as well, and I have no use for an Ulan. Because I don't play Neo Capital.
Right.
Let me see if I can pull the Seraph out real quick. Have you ever shown it on stream or take a Yeah, this is the Seraph. Which I know Spencer won't be able to see it right away because there's a delay on the stream.
Yeah, let's say I'm waiting for the stream to catch up so I can see what's going on.
Ryan, my wet palette is homemade. This is a photo case that I got from Hobby Lobby for $3, $2.50. It's just an acid-free plastic case. It's got a little clip on the side, so it locks up. And on the inside, I just put some paper towels. I think there's like 2 or 3 layers of paper towel in there.
Oh,
and
there's
then
the
a
Seraph.
small piece of parchment paper. And you can get parchment paper from the grocery store for $5 for 120 feet or something like that. Oh, 30 square. Sorry. Way off. Tomcat, thank you for the follow. Yeah, I really like the Seraph. I have a couple tags, and this is the first big Infinity model I actually enjoyed painting.
I think the Seraph more than any of the other tags, especially for Pan O, definitely the Seraph evokes the most sort of Gundam feel looking at it.
Definitely. And part of my hesitation, like I owned it for a while, and part of my hesitation with painting it was basing. Because, yes, Tomcat, these are Infinity models that I'm working on right now. The problem is all of my Infinity stuff is on secret weapon bases, and they took until this summer to release 55mm bases in the style that I do my Infinity bases. So I couldn't base my tags, and so like, well, what's the point in painting them?
Yeah.
So I did it.
Yeah, I was gonna ask where you got those bases from. I wasn't sure if they were secret weapon or something you made.
Secret weapon. I do have some issues with the 55mm bases, and it's mainly if I put these two side by side, you should be able to see the problem. They're enormous. Like, not just in size-wise, they're 55mm, which they're supposed to be, but they're twice as tall as a regular base. And I don't know why. It seems kind of arbitrary that they're that big.
Maybe where it might be something where if they're that big, making them, you have to make them thicker, or there'll be some sort of structural integrity thing. I don't know.
Maybe. I just know the 55mm plastics that actually come with the model, not nearly that thick. They're much tinier.
Well, plastic's a little more rigid. I mean, resin, if you stretch resin over too big of an area, it can definitely become brittle.
Bends.
Yeah, so that might be. I mean, it's not. I mean, it's a tag. You're not going to be really hiding it anyway. So.
All right, so I think I'm pretty well done with this guy at this point.
All your colors on him.
He's got his blue glowy points on the feet and the legs and the eyeballs. It's not my best lenses on the eyes, but I'm not feeling picky on this guy. There's a reason I haven't painted him after owning him for like 2.5 years.
Now, I noticed on his hand he's got like that streak. Is that supposed to be glowing as well? I'm making hand gestures like anybody can see
On
it.
his head? Or
His hands?
Yeah.
Like on his gauntlets? Okay.
The blue line there. I didn't fill it in with the full turquoise I usually do. I just put some blue ink on there.
Okay. I wasn't sure if it was blue or if it was kind of a grayish color. It's a little hard to tell, but might just be the camera.
All right. Yeah, unfortunately, I can't. No matter how hard I try, I can't seem to get a good focus. Like, I can focus partially, and then as soon as I touch the model, it goes out of focus. All right, so it looks like we have about 30 people in the chat right now. For those who are just joining us, I'm Jeremy, and this is Spencer joining me via Skype. And
Hello.
he is here specifically because some of you expressed an interest in what it was like to work for Blue Table Painting, and as we are both veterans of Blue Table painting, I thought it would be nice to bring in me, who worked downstairs, and Spencer, who worked upstairs, so that we could answer some of your questions about what it was like to be there before the place imploded.
And what it was like to be there during the beginning of that
what it was like to be
implosion.
there at the beginning. What's up, Sous Chef? How's it going? I caught some of your stream last night. You were painting something other than Alariel last night, and I can't. You were working on Stormcast. Oh, we just had a follow. Who would that?
Three.
Wild Babbit. Wild Wabbit. Wild Wabbit. Wild Wabbit. Thank you for the follow.
His name's Siri. And she loves cooking. She would love me.
Starting your Drago.
Yeah, I'm gonna do some work on the Drago. I've got some inspiration pictures pulled up on Firefox, so I'm gonna be slightly distracted, so you might have to handle chat.
Then I see the one Blood Angel hanging out in the
Yeah, I
background.
need to freehand his banner. That's like, yes, Rhino, the implosion.
That's better than me. I mean, I've got a plethora of models scattered about my desk, but now that I'm not having to dedicate so much of my time to writing, I can actually get stuff painted. And since I just need to go out and prime a bunch of my Merc stuff.
You should get on that at some point.
Yeah, no, I definitely intend to. I'm just taking a few days to unwind, you know.
Makes sense.
Take a week off from being productive.
Yeah, if you're productive all the time, you just end up setting ridiculous expectations for yourself.
Yeah, I don't want people to have expectations of me.
Positive ones anyway.
Was the implosion the Chaos Dwarf fallout? That was kind of the catalyst, Rhino. It was definitely evident beforehand that things were starting to go down, but that kind of pushed it all over the edge.
Yeah, I feel like I wasn't there for that. Fortunately, I had left already. Moved down here to start my teaching career.
Yeah, I wasn't there for that either. I was already gone when that all went down, but that was definitely the
straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah. But there were definite signs before any of that happened, that there were problems, and it all kind of started. I mean, it started 2 years ago, 2 years before that at least, with the whole thing with Rob.
I thought it went back even further than that. I thought it went back to Sarah.
With Sarah, I don't know the whole story there. I know.
I never even met her.
That her and Sean have fallen out. She left not long after I started working there. So, but she left. Her and Sean had a falling out. Sean put Rob in charge of the company. Rob made some questionable decisions. And then Sean took the company back over and was utterly paranoid to relinquish power to anybody for anything. And that was part of his problem when I said I wanted to start doing videos, is he would have to hand over control of that to me, and he wasn't necessarily okay with that. And I think where the big issue, I think where it really came down, the Chaos Dwarf thing started it, but I think it was when Shannon left.
Yeah.
She kind of held that place together, and we said it before she ever left. We said, second Shannon quits that company, it's all over. And she left, and then everything kind of plummeted. All of his big personality artists left. I mean, Mason moved back to Washington. Thomas and Janine stopped working there, and they work with Mini Wargaming now.
Janine does videos for Mini Wargaming. I think they're both working for Frontline Gaming now.
Frontline Gaming, that's what it was. John, for better or worse, went back to Connecticut.
Apparently took Tara with him.
Yeah, Tara. Well, I mean, Tara had been gone before that.
Right.
I mean, she wasn't working there.
At the studio pretty often. Sean still liked to film videos with her.
Yeah.
For some reason.
And then Dave stopped. I think I don't think there's a single person who's working there right now that was working there when I left.
I know there aren't.
I think they're all gone.
Who were there when I was there.
Yeah. So.
I think Thomas was the last.
So there were definite. Yeah, there were definite signs that things were going down, and the Chaos Dwarf thing really. I think the Chaos Dwarf thing brought it all into the spotlight, is what happened, because up until that point, Sean had never had somebody big in the community speak out against him. And suddenly he had a guy who was very well known throughout all these forums, who was known for going to tournaments, doing all this other stuff, who was saying, you screwed up and you're refusing to take responsibility. And that caused a lot of backlash.
And given that Sean is not a person who likes criticism to begin with, there were lots of signs about that. He would go into YouTube videos that weren't very popular and purge the comments or just turn comments off, just because he didn't want to hear negative feedback. Like, not even negative feedback. He didn't want to hear constructive feedback or feedback that wasn't phrased in a way that made it inherently positive.
Ryan, the Chaos Dwarf incident, to answer your question, is this guy got a huge Chaos Dwarf project. I mean, had to easily have been a few $1,000s that he invested in this. And the studio screwed it up. As Rhino is saying, yeah, somebody hired him. Someone hired the studio to do this project, and they screwed up on a lot of counts. And he contacted Sean in the studio and said, hey, look, you guys screwed up my models. I want you to fix it. And Sean tried to argue it with him, so he did a video, showcasing his new Chaos Dwarf army, put it up on YouTube, put it up on Warseer, on Daka. I'm sure it made its way to like 4chan and to Reddit, and basically anywhere Warhammer gets discussed, this video got shared. I saw it on Board Game Geek. I think I saw it on Bell of Lost Souls at one point. It spread like wildfire that he had paid all this money for this project. The studio had screwed it up, and then Sean refused to acknowledge it. And a lot of people kind of went, "Wow, that's messed up. That's a real bad business practice." And people kind of started. It really started a backlash. People started taking more notice and started kind of calling out BTP on stuff, and pretty soon, I mean, there was always people who didn't think they were popular. Hey, Ross. There were always people who didn't really like BTP, but this really, it fanned the fires, man. It fanned those flames hard, and it created the huge backlash. And from what I understand, having at the time that it was going down, living with an artist, there, when the artist tried to bring it up to Sean that, hey, maybe we should fix this, he started getting snippy with them and fighting with them and telling them to stay out of it and to mind their own business, and that it wasn't their place to make these decisions. And I think that's why a lot of people left. And there were other things, him paying them a pittance, and if he paid them at all. So But yeah, that that to answer your question, Ryan, was the Chaos Dwarf incident.
Yeah, I remember seeing that the mega thread on DACA that was all about blue table painting and the people in there. Who dat? Commander Kino, thank you for the follow. And I would go in there and read the thread.
It went crazy.
It didn't matter what your association was with blue table painting. If you had any association with blue table painting, you got attacked in there. If you were happy with a project that Blue Table had finished for you, then you were obviously an apologist. If you were a former employee trying to justify the other employee's actions and saying, look, the employees don't get paid a whole lot. The whole point of being a Blue Table artist is to knock out projects as fast as possible, move on to the next one so that you get enough money to pay your rent. Then you got attacked. It was vicious.
Yeah, it got out of hand really fast. It spiraled out of control. The biggest thing was the language that was getting thrown. I don't mean obscene language. I mean, I have no problem with swearing, obviously. But it was, the words being chosen to describe Blue Table at that point. I saw con artists, rip-off artists, criminals, stuff like that thrown around. So, hey, Slow Fuse Gaming, what's happening?
Oh, hey, Slow Fuse. Welcome to the stream. I will go ahead and right here enter a plug for Blue, but I think everyone in here is pretty well familiar with him. I think a lot of you were sent over by Kenny, and he's very prolific about Blue, so I feel like I would just be reiterating everything he probably told you already.
Huh. But yeah, so Jeremy, anything with silver?
There is some silver in there. Right now I am working with Vallejo Black Gray. Because one of the issues I've had with
I hadn't been looking
this
at streets, so.
is figuring out what parts to paint, what color.
Right. Is he going to be the sort of cream white with green, like your other guys?
Well, the green I usually reserve for cloth, straps, and pouches and things like that. So he's going to be mostly really dark grays and the cream color. I just have to figure out which panels are getting picked out and what.
Right. It's always the fun part when you're painting something for the first time in new colors. You're like,
It's especially a problem when Infinity models are so complex in their design to begin with. And you're like, well, I want to make it look good, but I can't use the same exact colors I use on everything else because I chose particular textures to be those colors, and this model doesn't have those textures.
Right.
All right, Commander Kino, thanks for stopping by.
Kino, have a good summer work. Working on a Sunday, man, I don't miss that at all.
Me neither. Yay for public education.
Yeah. Well, I also think when you're painting a model that big, you've got to really be careful where you apply certain colors. Because I can't remember what it was. I think it was many, many years ago. And by that, I mean at least 10 or 12 years ago when I was still playing 40K, painted up a Dreadnought. And I was like, okay, well, I'll paint them to match my Marines. And that color scheme did not work on a model that size. And of course, back then, I wasn't painting very well to begin with. Not that I'm a great painter now, but, I was, late teens, early 20s, still fresh in gaming.
There's your problem, Commander Kino. You're living in the wrong time zone. It's still Sunday here.
Yeah. Get on Yankee time. Come on. But yeah, So, you know, it wasn't like, oh, well, I'll just reprime it or I'll strip it, because I didn't know about those things. Yeah, I didn't know you could reprime a model. I didn't know you could strip paint off of a model. So that is why now I tend to lean towards stuff where I can kind of already see a color scheme in my head. When I started painting my CCC, the first model I painted was the Gunner, because I was like, whatever, this is the one I care the least about, so if I screw it up, I'm not too worried. But I ended up liking the color scheme enough that I've spread it out over my other guys. So my Doom squad. But that's definitely why I want to pick up some Bones guys or something to test a couple other schemes on. Because I don't know how well the scheme I want to do on my House 4 or my Waza will actually work, or even my EIC. I have no idea how that color scheme will actually play out.
Good models for a test. They're cheap and readily available.
Yeah.
Alright.
If you want so buttery, chewy. So I'm going to marinate the water.
Anyone in the chat, just as a reminder, if you have any questions for either Spencer or me about life working at Blue Table Painting,
or gaming or whatever,
what we've been doing since we left Blue Table Painting, or philosophy, economics. We're gonna avoid politics because it's too decisive or too divisive. If you have, questions about relationships,
yeah, we're the experts. Ryan, did we get the hookup on anything at BTP? Yes, we had access to cheaper models through wholesale. We could order stuff through the studio. I also got us a bunch of free stuff when I was doing marketing, which I've since taken. Well, okay, well, that makes me sound like a thief. Let me rephrase that. Sean said that I could do whatever I wanted with the models. They were basically mine. So when I left the company, I took them with me. He didn't make any fuss about it. So
they weren't for games he cared about.
Yeah, exactly. Just my mic.
None of it was for anything made by Games Workshop.
Yeah, so now I've got what is it? I've got Bolt Action, Kensei, Hail Caesar, ACW. I think that's everything that's up there. Everything that's up there that was sent to us by a company. There's other stuff up there. I've got some Flames of War guys up there.
All the Warzone stuff. Well, some of the Warzone.
Yeah,
stuff.
all the Warzone stuff that wasn't my Bauhaus, with the exception of my one squad of Mortans, was all free. That's only because I went in on the Kickstarter and threw a lot of money at it and got a whole ton of stuff. So, but there was stuff. I mean, people got stuff from the store all the time for a good price. I mean, I know Thomas got Forge World models. He got a Fulgrim from there for free, I think.
Yep, that wouldn't surprise me.
So,
while we're on
there was the potential.
While we're on the subject of the web store.
Uh-oh.
I don't know if you've looked at it lately.
No. Why would I? There was never anything on there I wanted.
I don't know. Sean was talking about it in one of his videos a few weeks back, and I was like, I wonder what the web store is looking like these days. It's bare bones. I'll tell you that much.
Doesn't surprise me. Nobody was willing to do that job. No. For the pittance he was paying, nobody will willingly take that job over. Mm-hmm. I didn't have a choice. I was basically forced into that job.
Yeah, one of the things I was going to mention, someone had asked earlier about the pay structure. So, at one point, Sean decided that everything in the studio needed to be done on commission. didn't matter what your job was, you were doing it on commission. And Spencer mentioned that he was doing videos, getting paid per video, and at the same time he was working he's doing the trade store, where you were getting paid per lot uploaded.
Yeah. Yep. I got paid per lot that was uploaded, and it was based on how much the lot was selling for.
Right.
If it was from a certain price to if it was from a penny to whatever price, I got X amount of dollars, and anything above that, I got X amount of dollars. And I think there was a third one that was, if it was a really big lot, if it was like a whole army or something, I got like $10 for putting it up, something like that.
Which, it doesn't sound like a bad arrangement.
It doesn't, until you realize that putting up something like an army, setting it up, taking all the pictures,
pricing it out,
cataloging it, putting it in the bin, editing all the pictures down because they had to be, because the camera took really high res pictures.
Because Sean would invest in a good video camera, but for good stills, he was all about it.
Yeah. And then uploading it all. You could easily spend an hour on one lot. Which you might think, oh, well, $10 an hour doesn't sound too bad. But that was rare. Most times I was making 50 cents to like $2 a lot. And if there wasn't a lot of stuff coming in, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't make money if there was nothing coming in. And I think that was kind of the thing that really pushed me to be like, let me do videos, because we hit a really bad dry spell at one point where in, I think, a month, we had maybe 3 boxes come in for trades.
From what I remember, the best part about that arrangement, and yeah, Rhino, that's pretty much the reason you did it. No one had enough hours or anything accrued at BTP to get benefits anyway.
Yeah.
But the best part about the way Sean ran the web store and the way he paid Spencer for doing it was that anytime a box came through, Sean would swing by, look at all the stuff available, take the best stuff for himself.
Yeah, he would rifle through boxes for stuff he wanted, or he would. The one thing that really irked me, it's coming along real nice actually, Jeremy. I'm really liking that. Is it the black gray or gray black? Black gray. I love that paint, dude. It's one of my favorite colors. But that looks really good against that.
Against
that white.
Well, it's prime black, and then I oversprayed it with Stynylrez gray, and then I went in and did some highlights with Stynylrez white primer, and then I tried to use that as a pre-shading thing, kind of like what Kenny was doing on stream yesterday or the day before. He was painting a Blood Crusher by first going in and painting with greens, and then doing red over the green. And I was trying to do the same thing using Zenithal highlights up through the gray spectrum to then highlight in the dark sand that I sprayed on there. But my airbrush was giving me crap last night, so it didn't come out as well as I hoped it would.
Alright. Well, I like it. It's a really nice contrast. So.
Yeah, I think it'll look good once I get some more paneling going on.
Yeah, I think once there's some cream on there, it'll pop a little bit more too. But still, so far so good. I like it. But sorry, before I got distracted with that, the defining moment for the cheapness, DragCon88. Thanks for the follow, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, it is.
We had a whole ton of Catachans come in. So I mean, like, huge stuff, and I was breaking it into lots, and I was gonna put it all up, and that one box was gonna make me easily $100, and I was super stoked because it meant plenty of hours of work, and it meant a good paycheck. And Sean sold it all out from under me one day, And so we had struck a deal earlier that, you know, if Josh, who was the project manager at the time, would come over and take in stuff, that he would reimburse me for it, basically. Because it was, you know, I couldn't get paid if we were taking stuff out from under me. And so he did that and sold basically all of it to somebody. I had a prior appointment in that morning, so I wasn't able to come in till like noon. And I came in and it was all gone. I said, Sean, what happened to all that Catachan stuff? He goes, oh, I sold it all. I said, oh, okay. And I'd already put it in my computer, the lots. You know, I already had a Word document with all the breakdown of how I was going to list it. So on my pay form, because we all pay sheets, I basically said, you know, hey, here's what you owe me for all those Catachans you sold. And he said, oh no, I'm not paying you for that. So that was kind of a shitty thing for him to do, and it pissed me off. I almost quit right then and there because I was like, you're stealing money from me, dude. And he said, no, that's not how I see it. It's like, you can't pay me commission and then take the stuff I need to make commission. I was like, it doesn't work that way. At least not in reality.
No, not in everyone else's reality.
Yeah.
His reality, that's exactly how it works.
Mm-hmm. But that was definitely one of the tipping points for me of how hard I was getting screwed.
Yeah, the employees at Blue Table, we loved the company. It was fun to work there. We wanted to see it succeed, and we would put forward ideas all the time about things we could do that would bring good exposure to the company, or would get us new clients, or show off the different talents and skills that the artists in the company had, and we always got shot down.
Yeah, there were different moments where, you know, we would put forth ideas of, well, you know, maybe we should get in touch with this up and coming company and see if they'd be willing to send us some stuff, and we could advertise for them by painting it, and they could advertise for us by sharing those videos. And he basically always put the kibosh on that because he didn't want to deal with it, because he didn't know these companies, he didn't know the game they made, and this will sound really self-centered of me, but Jeremy will back me up on this. I think Sean always had a problem with the fact that I knew more about gaming than him.
It's true. I think.
Did we learn anything? We learned what to look out for.
No, I'd say that's a negative thing, but I learned a number of useful painting skills that I still use now. Different products that I probably would have never been exposed to had I not worked for Blue Table Painting. Like, I learned a lot of bad habits as a Blue Table painter, but at the same time, some of them are really convenient and really easy to use.
For me, the most positive thing I learned, aside from, I mean, there were positive things that came out of Blue Table. You know, I met a lot of great people. I made a lot of great friends. I mean, Jeremy, Zach, Ben, Shannon, Thomas, Janine. I mean, all of them. If I had never moved out here to Utah and worked for Blue Table, never would have met them. So I can definitely thank Blue Table for that. You know, without Blue Table, there wouldn't be a Geek of Spades. Because we never would have gotten together. We never would have sat down one night and said, you know, we should do our own YouTube channel.
And part of the reason we decided to do our YouTube channel was because we didn't think Sean was doing the stuff that he should be doing. We're like, well, we'll just do it on our own.
Yeah. But I definitely feel I learned more about videography while I was there. The stuff I had filmed before I started doing it for Blue Table was, you know, amateur at best, because I didn't really know better. I didn't really do a lot of editing. And then I really wanted to make it look good, and I really invested the time in learning how to use a program. So I think that definitely kind of came out of it. Learning better video skills, learning better editing skills, and definitely using Sean as an example of what not to do. As as kind of backhanded as that sounds, being able to say, well, okay, definitely want to edit. We definitely need to invest in a good camera. I want to try and keep it as steady as possible. Cut down on the bullshit. All that sort of stuff.
It's fine for your battle reports, if that's what you're filming, to have a little bit of banter and some tactical talk and stuff like that. But we don't need to know about what you're doing on the weekend in your battle report.
Yeah, and you don't need to, cover every last thing that happens in a game. Some games, stuff like X-Wing, battle reports for that. Yeah, you want to show the ships moving because that's a pivotal part of that game. But for 40K, you don't need to show the movement phase. Nobody gives a crap.
Nope.
My guys moved forward 6 inches. Hey, so did mine. There's certain things, yeah, we learned from being there. So,
what advice would you give to someone wanting to start their own painting commission service? Arlu, I'd say a couple things.
Don't ask me.
One, your time is valuable. Charge like it's valuable. And there's probably going to be a lot of the same advice you hear, and I think Kenny Stream or any of the other commission artists who actually stream, don't undervalue what you do as a commission artist, or you will never make enough money doing it for it to ever be worth doing. If you're just painting for buddies, then paint for your buddies. If they want to pay you for it, great. Otherwise, you're just painting for your friends to have fun painting for your friends. They can buy you a model or something to pay you for it. But if you're paying to make money, at least ensure that you're making a little bit more than minimum wage when you do it.
Yeah, definitely understand how fast you can do something. If somebody sends you a squad of 10 tactical Marines and it takes you a week to do them, you might want to reevaluate. I mean, that's why I could never be a commission painter. And I'm not a great painter, but yeah, definitely know what your time is worth. The other thing I would highly recommend, and this is one of the few things I can recommend in this regard because I'm not a painter, is publicity.
Yeah, get your work out there.
Get your work out there. Don't be afraid to reach out to games companies. A lot of these smaller companies don't have in-house painters. They don't have the time and resources to invest into it. To have somebody there full-time painting. Reach out to them. Look, advertise, find every single way to get your stuff out there. Do not rely on hope that somebody will just stumble across your stuff. You definitely have to be proactive. And be a decent painter. That will help too. Don't be the classic guy on eBay selling stuff that's quote pro painted and looks like he dunked it in Play-Doh.
Don't be an eBay pro painter. Never be an eBay pro painter.
Don't be like Spencer. But the other thing, Arlu, is be comfortable starting small. Don't go in thinking that you have to be huge right off the bat, because you even if you look at something like Blue Table, that started off as Sean and like 2 people hanging out in a garage. There's definitely been mistakes made, but it's okay to start if it's just you or you and a buddy, doing it as something you kind of do on the side at first. And I think it's that way with any form of self-employment. I right now, I mean, I'm not a professional writer. I'm not out doing book signings or anything like that, but there's definitely a, it's a step. It's a starting position. I work a 9-to-5 job. I put in my 40 hours a week, and then I do my other thing. Just converted your dining room over to a gaming and painting room. Awesome. Yeah, and that's a great way to do it. And I would wholeheartedly recommend, if you haven't, starting up a YouTube channel, doing something like that. Because when you're doing stuff that is purely visual, I mean, because let's be fair, 90% of tabletop gaming is visual. So, invest in a YouTube channel to show it off. Don't be afraid to invest in a nice camera. I mean, you can get a good HD webcam, or not even a webcam, like a camcorder like we use for reviews and bat reps and stuff like that. I mean, that camera costs us what, like $100, $120? Something like that.
Not super expensive, but it records in 1080p and...
Yeah, and again, start small with that as well. Don't dive in thinking you have to match, mini wargaming quality.
Yeah, as long as you can hold a camera more steady than Rich can, you'll be fine.
Yeah, invest in a tripod. Ryan, all right, man. Have a good night. Enjoy your dinner. Thanks for stopping by and hanging out. But yeah, I mean, even you look at us. I mean, we're a small group. We're 4 guys who just happen to all like geeky stuff, happen to all work together, and
exclusive one. Thank you for the follow.
And it's been good. It's been good times. We're definitely not as consistent as I would like us to be, but
no, we're not. A big part of that comes from just
I'm trying to work on that. Yeah, we still need to get Ben to start doing some more stuff. So,
Zach to do anything.
But yeah, well, there's that too. So yeah, don't be afraid to start small on anything. It's okay to not be top tier quality right off the bat.
Yeah. Very true.
Because everybody's got to start somewhere, man. I mean, you can't go into something, especially like this, and expect to be an overnight sensation. So, I mean, you can look at gaming companies as a good example of that. Look at Privateer Press. They started off small, had a very niche market, very niche following, and now they're huge. I mean, they're the second biggest company in this industry, and in some places, I dare say they are on equal footing with Games Workshop, who've been around for 30 years. So, look at Infinity. When I started playing Infinity, little no-name company out of Spain, 3rd biggest company in the industry now. Although I think they might have been bumped back to 4th by Fantasy Flight. But
I don't know if I'd count Fantasy Flight in the industry. I mean, sure, there's stuff with gaming, but it's not traditional tabletop. You don't paint anything. You can if you want to, but it doesn't need to be.
True. But I mean, in terms of miniatures gaming sales, though, X-Wing's outselling everything. 40K here in the States. So, and they're getting into the more traditional paint and stuff side with Rune Wars.
Yeah. I'm just still not sure I'd count them.
I would. You know, 3-4 years ago, I wouldn't have. But now that they've got X-Wing and Armada, I definitely count them. Yeah, you don't have to paint the stuff, but they're just as much, you know, tabletop war games as, you know, anything else. Arlu, that's very cool. I would definitely recommend looking into if you really want to show off your skills and you want to show it off on some cool models. Infinity, Drop Zone, and Heavy Gear, I think, offer some really neat stuff that will offer a lot of chance to show off your skills. Obviously, you know, 40K stuff is always good to have handy, as is War Machine. But I'm trying to think of the other one.
Kings of War?
Kings of War I like. I mean, I like their models. I have my ogres and I have the dwarves. But they're not quite as detailed.
It's true.
You know? It's a great game. I think it's an amazing game.
I was painting up that Dragon Rider.
You know, are you?
He's all done. I just need to do basic on him. But the Rider is he's got to be like 35mm scale compared to the other guys. The scaling and detailing is ridiculous.
Yeah. The other, oh jeez, I'm trying to think of it. Do something historical. Do stuff in various scales too. You know, grab some Flames of War stuff. Grab some bolt action stuff. Everybody knows World War II. Everybody kind of knows what it looks like, so it's a good place to start for that. Kingdom Death, that was the one I was thinking of. Their models are ridiculously detailed. I don't know if they're readily available at retail yet, but those are a good one. The newer stuff for Warzone is really nice. Seraphon Start Collecting Set. Some Malifaux. Oh yeah, Malifaux.
Malifaux's a good one. The models are finicky to build sometimes, but they're very detailed.
They're nicely
they're
detailed.
Very nice looking models.
Yeah.
And you can really show off some painting skill with them.
Yeah. And the Imperial Assault stuff, yeah, I mean, that stuff's not the most detailed, but I mean, everybody kind of knows Star Wars, and that's a good way to make money, honestly. I mean, painting stuff for people, stuff like Imperial Assault, Descent, and Super Dungeon. I mean, when Super Dungeon first came out, I don't remember how many projects came through the studio for that, but we made so much money on that game.
First came out,
that's definitely a good way to do it.
Still doing Super Dungeon Explorer projects when I left, and I think I've seen a couple of them go through the studio on YouTube in the last year.
Yeah, well, with the new version that came out, I'm not surprised. Arena Rex, yeah, they've got some really cool models. I'm trying to think. Arlu, if you want a really cool set of miniatures that would be really good for having in a portfolio that people are going to instantly recognize and be able to know what you're able to do, the Batman stuff from Night Models. Those figures are incredible. They're super detailed, and it's one of those things like Star Wars. Everybody knows what it looks like. That could do you really good. And honestly, there's so many miniatures out there to pick from. But yeah, the scales is good. I think that was one of the shortcomings at BTP, is if it wasn't 28mm, Sean didn't know what to do with it.
Very true. Well,
except for Drop Zone. Drop Zone was the only one he
ever. Reason, he was really able to get into that. Get into it as in.
Then he never learned.
He never learned the game. He never learned the rules, but he got really into the models.
And they're beautiful miniatures. I mean, they're phenomenal. But yeah, some of that, some Flames of War. I'm trying to think of other small scale stuff. If you want wanted to do something a little more obscure, I guess, a little less popular, but still small scale, excuse me, grab a box of like a regiment. I think they're regiments or companies. I can't remember. By Fire and Sword. It's pike and shot sort of stuff, 30 years war sort of models. But it's 15 millimeter, so it offers you some good chances to show off abilities to paint at that level, because stuff back then was was really you could go really crazy with some of the uniforms back then. Jeremy, was that your giant
yeah, that was
Ares?
my 30 millimeter Ares.
So yeah, those are ones I would definitely recommend if you can find it. Troll eBay or Bartertown or Board Game Geek or wherever, and you might be able to find some at your local shop. Try finding some of the old Rackham models, because those things are insane in detail, and they're just really cool. And I used to work with Rackham, so I'll still shill them now and then.
For those who may be joining us, or who have been joined with us for a while but may not know what the heck we're talking about or what's going on here, we are doing a special guest stream with Spencer, who hopefully will be joining us more in the future now that he's finished writing his book. And if we ever get around to doing video game streams again. But we are fielding questions about our time at BTP and about the commission painting industry and about the wargaming industry in general. And any questions you have or may have had or have ever had, feel free to ask. I can't promise you'll get the answer you hope for, but you'll get an answer.
Yeah, we'll definitely give you an answer. Oh, sorry, I keep bumping the cord to my webcam here, which is acting as my microphone.
I'm sure it's much less noticeable than
There we
when I
go.
bump my webcam.
True. Let's see. I'll have to purchase these over time. I'm not able to work right now as I'm primary caregiver for my father. Yeah, War Machine is definitely a good way to go. Reaper's got some cool stuff. But more importantly, good on you, man, for taking care of your dad. That's the important thing, This is, it's cool that you want to be a commission painter, and obviously we wish you the best of luck in your endeavors in that. But I want to say, kudos on you for being a good son there. That's really cool of you.
Or daughter.
Or daughter. Yeah, that's true. I don't know if you're a guy or a girl. My bad. But yeah, still really cool of you to take care of your dad like that. But yeah, I don't want to overload you with games because I could just rattle off like 100. But yeah, War Machine has some cool stuff. War Machine has very distinct stuff, which I think helps it too. So yeah. All right, he's a dude.
We have confirmation.
Yeah. That's very true, Arlu. I don't know what I would do if my dad ever got to that point where he needed somebody to watch over him constantly, because I'm a couple thousand miles away from my family, so be a little tough. Me being in Utah and them being in Florida. Doing your white now.
Yeah. We're gonna try and clean up some of the dark sand spray. I'm gonna have to shade it down because it didn't have the initial tan yellow that I usually start with.
So Jeremy, I'm sure you'll love this story, but right before we started streaming today, I went to take off my Monster headphones that I have, and took them off and put them on my desk, and they broke. So my like super nice, well, I guess not super nice. I mean, they're not like super expensive, but the nice set of headphones I have is now broken. We tried taping it back together and it didn't work. This is why I can't have nice things.
Because you just always break them.
Yeah.
Star Sunders, this is a Dragos tag from Corvus Belli's Infinity model range for their tabletop war game Infinity.
And just a sweet model.
Yeah, I don't know if it's still the largest tag in their range, but it's definitely up there.
I don't know. I haven't been keeping up very much. I still follow them on Facebook, so I get all the notices of like new stuff coming out. I still haven't seen the new Aleph stuff, but
it was part of their Gen Con presentation. So if you find the slides,
everything they've been posting on
the new Aleph releases for this year are Garuda Tact Bots. So the ones, the giant jump packs.
Yeah, I have one of those.
3-pack.
Oh, nice. Hopefully a ton less fiddly than the old one. I love the model, but it was a pain in the ass to put together. Okay. I don't think I ever had the posthumans. No, I never had the post-human box set. That came out kind of right at the tail end of me stopping playing.
And then next year, you're supposed to get your sectorial list.
In theory. Only like 5-6 years after it should have come out. Yep. Oh, Lord. But... So yeah, Gen Con. Let's talk Gen Con, because Ben's there right now, which is why he's basically not with us.
Probably joined us at Gen Con.
Yeah.
Well, I gave him an out anyway. Who knows if he'd have joined us.
Yeah. But I want to talk about some of the cool stuff that's been coming out. I assume you've been following the news
some of it.
From there, right?
For the games I'm interested in.
Right. So obviously they announced Wave 10 of X-Wing, which is, I think, the first wave in quite a while that's not 4 models.
It's 3.
Yeah, it's 1 for each faction. I'm excited to see the Upsilon shuttle. Thing looks absolutely massive.
For those
but
that don't
I was waiting for
follow
them to put that
X-Wing,
out.
The Upsilon shuttle is Kylo Ren's shuttle from Star Wars: The Force Awakens.
Yes. The other ships are Sabine's TIE, right? Sabine
TIE from Star Wars Rebels.
From Star Wars Rebels, which I don't watch, so I don't know anything about it.
It's a TIE fighter.
And yeah, and the quad jumper for Scum. And for those of you who don't follow, if you the ship that they're originally going to steal on Jakku that gets blown up, and then they go steal the Falcon. The ship that gets blown up is a quad jumper, and they released that releasing it in X-Wing as a Scum ship. And I'm kind of excited, but at the same time, I'm kind of torn because I want a Scum ship with shields. It's the thing that kills me. Is I'm always like, okay, well, yeah, I mean, this ship might have a lot of hull, but it means it gets dealt criticals easier. So I'll still buy it because I'm a sucker.
Star Sunders, if your sound was muted, I'll go ahead and repeat it. This is a Drago tag from Corvus Belli's Infinity. It is the shock army of Econo Cemento, big walking giant robot thing. Though they have 2 of them, so I guess it doesn't really work to say it's their big giant walking robot. One of their big giant walking robots.
And I think the Drago is a like a remote controlled robot. I don't think it's a mech suit.
All of the Pano tags are they have ghost presence.
Remote.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's one of the downsides to tags in Pano. They're really big, they're really powerful, and they're super hackable.
Yeah.
Because every single
because I know
pilot.
Yeah. Because I know that, like, if you look at like Nomad tags, they've got a really bulky torso because there's a person in there. Yeah, Panos are all the remote controlled. They're drones. Drone warfare.
That's because Pano is the superpower. Yeah. They're so rich that they don't care. Now you can destroy our tags. We'll just
basically. We'll just build another one.
Poor Tony.
The exception of what?
Tony Macania.
I was like, Tony Stark works for Pano?
Tony Macania is a character from the Paradiso campaign. Thank you for the follow, Joe Darkblade. And she is a Tikbalang pilot. And since the Tikbalangs don't actually have a pilot in them, it's being controlled via ghost presence. So she's sitting in a building somewhere or on a ship controlling this tag, and then it gets subsidized.
Oh. Yeah. That sounds like a good time.
And when a ghost piloted tag gets subsidized, it sends a feedback signal through the ghost presence that melts the brain of the pilot.
All right.
So she died in the lore.
Sounds like a good time.
Which is why she does not have a new set of rules for N3.
Ah.
And why an Economicemento army can now only bring 3 tags instead of 4.
Anyway, getting back to Gen Con. So yeah, we've got X-Wing Wave 10 was announced. Fantasy Flight also announced the new Rune Wars miniatures game, which I'm excited about. Looks really interesting in the way it's done, because the models are on round bases that plug into square movement trays, sort of like how Lord of the Rings did it. But it looks like the movement trays also like puzzle piece together, so you can remove them, but they move together.
Interesting.
Which I think is kind of cool. It's a neat idea. And then the way it will be done is it's got movement templates like X-Wing, and each unit has a command dial where you have 2 dials basically on it. One is what they're going to do that turn, so shoot, march, charge, whatever it may be, and then the second dial is for modifiers. And I don't know exactly how it works yet, but it looks really cool, and I'm kind of excited because I really like Terranoth, which is the world that it takes place in. And Jeremy, I had commented this to you while you were here for my birthday weekend that I didn't understand why they haven't made like a legit war game in that world. Well, now they have. And a lot of people have said, it doesn't make sense why have the round bases if you're going to have them movement trays, but I wonder if it's going to be similar to Lord of the Rings where there's going to be a skirmish game as well.
It would make sense if you have
you got the bases built in.
Structure in there already for it to do it, so why not? So just start with the mass combat game and then introduce the skirmish game later.
Yeah, once you have more factions, bust out a skirmish game, be like, hey, look, we got this too, because you can use the same dice.
Or knowing that it's Fantasy Flight, it'll be something more along the lines of, well, we're going to do a skirmish game, but it's going to be Mordheim-esque. It's going to be a skirmish RPG system where you build a war band and you go and you fight against other war bands and you gain experience.
Which I would love. I think that would be so cool.
Fantasy Flight already makes a million games like that.
Yeah, and it would behoove them to do it because, you think of campaign system skirmish fantasy games, and the only one that's really in production is Frostgrave, right? I can't think of any others.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. There might be some others, but that's the big.
I'm sure there's I'm sure there's probably something else out there, but I honestly can't think of them. I don't think Bushido has
Ash asked a question.
campaign system.
First time watcher, do you have any Warhammer models, specifically Age of Sigmar / Fantasy? I have lots of Warhammer 40k models, and I have a not unsubstantial collection of vampire accounts that I am slowly in the process of turning into Age of Sigmar models. Most of my infantry, I've already cut the bases off and put them on round bases. But it's going to cost me about another $50 to get all the bases I need for chariots and monsters and all that kind of stuff. So I have some. I don't really do anything with them yet. I have the General's Handbook and the Grand Alliance of Death book, but I've never played a game.
And I don't have any Warhammer models at all.
Spencer is currently morally opposed to anything Games Workshop. So.
Not true. Not true. I really like Hobbit, Lord of the Rings.
That's going Forge World.
They're still owned by Games Workshop.
But the two companies have very different stances on the way they do business.
True. I mean, I used to play Mordheim. I used to play Blood Bowl. I used to play Fantasy and 40k, and I kind of through playing other games stopped caring for their rules, thought they weren't very good, and moved on to other things. I mean, I'm excited. I know it's all Forge World, but I'm gonna lump it in anyway here for you, Jeremy, just so you know, so you don't freak out on me. I'm excited for the new Hobbit stuff. I think it looks really cool. I'm excited to see Blood Bowl coming back. I'm excited more or less for the rules for Blood Bowl to come back more than I am for the models they showed off at Warhammer World. Right? Is that their big thing? Warhammer World? Okay. Because the models looked detailed, but the poses were just god awful. I mean, they were just very bland and very 80s. So, I mean, whatever. I'd use different models anyway. If I'm going to play Blood Bowl, I have several companies to pick miniatures from now. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see Epic coming back. I'm interested to see what they'll do with it, and at the same time, I'm really hesitant about it because, as I mentioned, if they're going to charge $100 just for the rule book, that will be a big deterrent for me.
I'm actually kind of excited to see what they're going to do with Epic, because I've been reading up on it, and apparently the first wave of stuff that they're going to be doing for Epic is going to be all Imperial Titans.
Yeah, because they're starting it off as Titanicus.
Legio Titanicus is, I think, what the first round is going to be. Woolen Reich, thanks for the follow.
But yeah, that will definitely be something I'm keeping my eye on too.
Well, I've seen some of the models, and they're basically, so the scale is different than the old Armageddon. Old Armageddon was 6 millimeter.
Yeah, Epic was originally 6, and this is going to 8.
I thought it was 10. Because I know
they're doing 8.
They've shown off the Warlord Titan, and it stands about yay tall. It's a little bit taller than the Drago.
Yeah, it's big, but they have said that it's going to be 8 millimeter. For the reasons they gave, I think are kind of BS, but they have said that it'll help. To quote, it'll help you to distinguish the marks of Space Marine armor more easily from the table.
Also makes so you can't use your old Armageddon stuff.
Yeah,
which is probably the big reason.
Yeah, I think the whole it'll make it easier to tell what marks are, visibly, is kind of a cop out, because the different marks of armor don't have different rules, so it doesn't make any bloody difference.
It just looks cool.
Yeah, I mean that's fine, but I've seen people who are doing third-party stuff, basically 3D printing their own, that are doing Horus Heresy stuff in all the different scale or all the different marks of armor at 6 millimeter, and you can tell them apart.
True.
So But the big reason, I think the big reason they're doing 8mm is because A, they want people to have to buy their armies all over again.
Of course.
B, they're trying to put the kibosh on third-party companies who are making 6mm sci-fi stuff, like Onslaught Miniatures, who make not Tau and not Sisters and not Necrons, all of them in 6mm. And I think the reason they're not going to 10 is because then they would be competing with Drop Zone more, and Drop Zone's huge. I mean, Drop Zone is a very popular game. It doesn't get a lot of exposure, but there's a lot of people who play it.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, I think there's a few.
And I think
a few other. I think that for a game at the scale that they're looking to do, I've completely just lost my train of thought. So I have no idea what I was going to say. So forget it.
I think I know what you were going for. At the scale they're trying to do, the scale of warfare they're trying to show, 6 or 8mm is the best scale for that.
Yes, that's where I was going.
I think if they tried to go to like 15, like Flames of War scale, you wouldn't be able to fit as much stuff on the table. You know, Flames of War is great for representing World War II, but it wouldn't be good for armies of Space Marines. I think it's funny. Somebody else, I was talking to somebody about this online, and they said, "Oh, well, you know, by making the scale bigger, it'll also make making the Titans easier for them." And I was like, "Wait, well, they used to make 6mm Titans. Forge World knows how to do it."
They did used to make 6mm Titans, but let's be honest, they didn't look great. But that has more to do with the general design of stuff in 40K at the time. So.
Well, no, even like they had like Warhound Titans, like their style of Warhound at 6mm. You could buy them. They were great. I mean, they weren't on par with modern Forge World stuff because they were older, but it was very clear. It's very clear that they know how to do it, and to say, oh well, you know, by bumping up to 8mm, we'll be able to do all this other stuff and show all this other stuff. It's an obvious cop out, and it's an obvious, you know, we don't want to say what the real reason is kind of answer.
Yeah, Ash. Using a piece of cardboard is usually not the best thing to do for a palette because it's a very porous material. So a lot of the moisture from your paint and the paint itself is going to get absorbed into the cardboard. A wet palette is, for me, the best way to do it, just because your paint will usually last you a day or two sitting on the palette, as long as you keep it sealed up. You can even throw it in the fridge and keep it cool that way, and it'll last even longer. But if you don't mind losing paint between painting sessions, a piece of tile or plastic or something like that is a whole lot better than a piece of cardboard. You don't want something that's going to absorb your paint. It's okay if your paint dries on the palette, but you don't want your palette absorbing your paint. So basically what Star Sunder said.
Yeah, so other Gen Con news. Obviously, new Infinity stuff was announced. I think there was new War Machine stuff was announced. I can't remember.
I haven't seen any announcements from Privateer Press, but I haven't been looking real hard either.
Here, I'm gonna pull up TGN and see. I know Bushido has a new faction coming out that were shown at Gen Con. Let's see. Let's see. Maybe not as much stuff on here as I thought. Yeah, I know a whole bunch of stuff got announced. It's just finding the...
Yeah, the only thing I was aware of that Privateer Press had said about Gen Con is is their Gen Con exclusive releases. Rhino, it sounds like what you want is the Marats.
Yeah.
They're the closest thing to Ugly Ogre faction, and that's because they're giant space monkeys.
All right,
They
let's
remind
see.
me of, they're like the brutes from Halo.
Yeah. So let's see here. I'm going through the day one post. So Red Republic Games was there. Who are the guys that make Arena Rex. I think they're showing off some new stuff. On the Lam is there, showing off some new stuff for Endless Fantasy, and I think they mentioned something about possibly showing off stuff for a new version of Brushfire, which I'm pretty excited about. GCT make Bushido, have the Young Pirates.
Yes.
Let's see. Oh, Firelock Games. Yeah, they're there. They just did a very successful Kickstarter for their Blood and Plunder game. Blood and Plunder, rather. Not Plunder. That would be a Zack kind of game. That's a historically based pirate skirmish game that I wanted to back, but just couldn't.
It sounds like it's up your alley.
If nothing else, I wanted the rulebook just because it looked really cool, and the models are beautiful. If you haven't seen them, look them up on Facebook. Firelock Games. They make some really cool stuff. And the mechanics sound really cool. It was just one of those, I can't afford to throw money at it right now.
I don't know how that goes.
Rhino, I wouldn't really call it Shadowrun tabletop. Shadowrun, I feel, has a very distinct style to it. It's like Appleseed, if you're familiar with that anime. That is the closest approximation I can make to it. And that is in regards to Infinity, obviously. But yeah, Shadowrun is much more cyberpunk, much more dystopian.
And Infinity is very anime. Everything's clean and neat. And corporations fighting each other for domination of the human sphere. Dang it, camera!
Yeah.
Stop getting in my way.
Obviously, Cool Mini or Not's there, showing off all sorts of new stuff. Fantasy Flight announced Wave 10 of X-Wing, Rune Wars, as we mentioned. I think they announced something for the new version of Mansions of Madness, I think. They're also showing off the new Doom board game they're doing.
That's right, Slowfuse. All the junior warcasters got they got upgrades. They got promoted.
Alright, so let's move on to Gen Con date.
Captain Iacos, even though I've never gotten to use my Iacos Scourge of the Meridius. Never used him, but I gotta get the upgrade.
Ah, yes, the new Dark Age faction, the Shadowcast, got shown off, and they look cool. They also showed off the new stuff for the 2-player starter set they're releasing, which I'm super stoked about. They're doing a 2-player starter set that's going to be all plastic.
Ooh.
And it's 2 of the factions I'm most interested in, so I'll be picking that up. New Wrath of Kings stuff. I don't know if Mantic was there or
Mantic's
not.
there, but I don't think they announced anything.
Gale Force 9's there, showing off Star Trek Ascendancy. Let's see. Ninja Division showing off some new stuff. New Super Dungeon Explorer and new Relic Knights, apparently. So that's pretty cool. Steamforged Games is there, showing off Guild Ball. Weird is showing off all sorts of cool new stuff there. They're doing... So Jeremy, you might know this more than me, but what is it they're doing? Like, are they re-releasing all the factions, or are they just releasing new masters?
New masters. So
okay.
Every faction is getting a brand new master starter set. Yeah.
Okay. I kept seeing stuff on the Facebook page, but I wasn't sure what it was for. Rhino Dreadfleet is not in print anymore.
Not that it's hard to find.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Games Workshop still has copies, but they're not making new ones.
Well, even if they're not making new copies,
Mantic is there.
Dragon's Keep and Provo had like 3 of them just sitting in the store for years.
And Blue Table Painting had like 6 of them. Mantic is there showing off the Walking Dead miniatures game.
Right. I forgot about that one. I wasn't interested in it because it's another zombie.
Yeah. USAopoly, who this is interesting to me. They make all the different Monopoly games. They're making a Harry Potter deck building game.
Okay.
Which could be interesting. That could be kind of cool. I will definitely be looking into that in the future. That sounds like something me and Ashley could really get into. The Dark Souls board games being shown off. Cool Mini or Not announces Rising Sun. So for those of you who don't know, they did a board game a little while back called Blood Rage that was all Vikings, and this one is being called the spiritual successor.
Gifton, thanks for the follow.
But will be with samurai and stuff like that. So that'd be pretty cool. Let's see.
Alright, I think I'd like to go to Gen Con one of these years, but a lot of the gaming announcements just don't appeal to me.
Right.
It's not my style of game, I guess.
Yeah, I really like to go because I like to see all the different stuff. But Rhino, you are right there with a lot of people. There's a lot of people who are hoping that Dreadfleet would be a resurgence of Man-O-War, and then ended up not. And that's I know a lot of people are afraid that's what's going to happen with Epic and Battlefleet Gothic as well. So, but yeah, there were a lot of people like, dude, new. It's basically Man-O-War, and the game ended up not being so good.
I never heard anything bad about the game.
From
what I understood of Dreadfleet, the problem was that it had no replayability.
It had some.
Gameplay-wise, it was a solid one-off.
It had some replayability in the fact that you could play the different ships, and they all had their own different abilities and stuff. And it was totally worth playing, 2 or 3 times. But after that, it was kind of like, okay.
Like you knew exactly what was going to happen based on which faction you chose.
Yeah, I think if they had released expansions for it, like new ships, that would have been awesome. I think Blood Bowl will still keep its season rules. I think they said they're not really changing much in the rules. They're just kind of streamlining some of them, fixing a couple of the things that were broken. But I think it'll still have the campaign rules, because not having the campaign rules in Blood Bowl would be the stupidest thing they could do. New Warhammer Quest doesn't have like campaign in it. That's idiotic.
Silver Tower does not have a campaign mode.
That's dumb. Warlord is at Gen Con with Conflict 47.
But not Doctor Who.
No. Let's see.
That was the dumbest thing I'd ever read.
Was that they are also that they're not doing
the Doctor Who miniature game is only available in the UK.
meh.
Well, you can't order it from their website. If you're at a U.S. If you have a U.S. address, you can't order the Doctor Who miniature game.
Wait, so you can't even order it from them?
You can't order it.
I wonder if it's some exclusive deal they signed with the BBC.
Which would be surprising to me, because I think at this point, Doctor Who is more popular on BBC America than it is on the BBC. It's got a huge following in the States.
Yeah. The last bit of interesting news I saw on here from Gen Con is Halo Ground Command.
Yeah. I saw the models for those. They look okay. That was kind of
It looks
my
interesting.
reaction to it.
I just don't care enough about
okay.
Halo. Yeah. I know MegaCon Games is there because I follow them on Facebook. They're showing off new Merc stuff, doing demos of Recon and of Myth, as well as Emergence event. They're also doing tournaments for Merc 2nd Edition, so lots of cool stuff going on at Gen Con. I would love to go. I've been once. It's just way too expensive.
Yeah, I think the LVO is about all I can afford for the foreseeable future, and even that's questionable at this point.
Yeah, but at least for the LVO, all you have to do is buy a ticket.
That's true. I don't have to get airfare or travel anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, the LVO is going to cost you $25.
Plus gas.
Whereas me...
Plus gas and the shame of having to get a
cost...
substitute for a day or two.
Yeah. For me, the LVO is going to cost me the $25 for the ticket, probably $100 in gas, plus food, plus lodging for a night. Although, actually, that's not really going to be too bad. Plus gambling money. But
that's your biggest expense right there.
That's
the
me.
Money.
It's true. Felt the same way about that. Jay Hipkin, what do you mean you felt the same way about Space Hulk? That it wasn't as good as it should have been, or that it just didn't have replay value? Because I thought Space Hulk had a lot of replay value because it had all the different missions, but I never played it, so I can't really say for certain.
And is it the new Space Hulk or the old Space Hulk? Because I don't know if the new one had the exact same.
Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting they did a new version of a game that. It drives me crazy because they're like, oh yeah, it's the new version of Space Hulk. It's like, didn't you just put one of those out like 2 years ago?
Yeah, they just keep re-releasing it.
Yeah. Okay, the replay value. Yeah, Space Hulk definitely seemed like a game that would have benefited from downloadable missions. You know, just put up some PDFs on the website for people to download and play. Maybe offer a chance to use some different models. That would have been cool.
Well, they kind of do that with the.
I get
the app.
Yeah. So here, some 40K news. Jeremy, I don't know if you heard about it. The new box set they're coming out with.
Death Mask.
It's Eldar. Yeah. Yep. Death Mask.
I'm going to try and get money to get one of those because it's like $300 worth of models for $120.
Yeah. I'm torn on it because on the one hand, hey, it's not Space Marines versus Space Marines for once. But on the other hand, I mean, it's apparently going to be one of those Betrayal Calth style board games, from what I understand.
No. It is a campaign box set similar to Shield of Baal.
Oh.
And or the Space Wolf Demon.
Mark of the Wolfen or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not a board game, but it's also not a starter set. Like, it comes with a rule book, but doesn't come with templates.
Okay.
So
the other thing I'm torn on about it is the same thing I was torn on with the starter set that's out, which is it's still Dark Vengeance, if I recall. Is how utterly lopsided it is. I mean, it is clearly like 100% in the Marines' favor.
I don't know. Because it's Harlequins.
Well, think
Harlequins
of it like
are much more...
Right. What's their armor save?
On Harlequins?
Yeah.
They have...
It's like a 5-up,
They have a 5-up invulnerable.
Whereas the other side of the box, everything has a 3-up save at minimum.
True.
So, and I had the same issue with Dark Vengeance, that you had the Dark Angels had all these plasma weapons for just obliterating stuff, and the Chaos Marines, I think, had one plasma weapon, and it was a pistol. So it's like, you're going to put them against an entire army of 3-up saves and not give them any way to actually, like, effectively kill them. I get Space Marines are the poster boys of 40K, before anybody jumps on me about that. But there's also a part of me that's just like, balance it a little bit better. Even if Harlequins have a lot of tricks, they're squishy. I mean, they're Eldar, so obviously they're squishy, but they then don't put them against Space Marines. Put them against something else.
Well, I don't think Games Workshop is ever going to release a campaign pack or a starter set or anything that does not have one of the factions of Space Marines. They're going to be Marines of some kind. Just because Space Marines is their largest part of their product catalog. When you factor in all the different factions of Space Marines available.
All the different colors. Which I get, but at the same time, it's kind of that circle of stupidity of, oh, hey, we oversaturate with Space Marines. People buy Space Marines because they're, really good. They're super easy to play. So let's make more Space Marines. Well, it's been like 10 years since this other army got a codex. Well, they're not Space Marines. People are buying Space Marines. Well, that's because that's all you make. That'd be like Forge World going, well, all people are buying is Space Marines. It's like, well, duh. You're making Horus Heresy.
Yeah. You're making a Marine versus Marine game, and people are going to buy Marines.
Yeah. Do Tau versus Necrons. I think something like that would be cool. Or Tau versus Eldar. I could see them.
Well, they wouldn't do Tau versus Eldar for a number of reasons, and I know Games Workshop is very loose on their interpretation of their own fluff, but supposedly the Eldar have kind of a protective relationship with the Tau. They see them as their successors, not humanity.
But I mean, if you're gonna do Eldar, I don't have them fight Dark Eldar, because that would be essentially like putting Marines versus Marines. But yeah, have like Eldar versus Necrons, or Eldar versus like Slaanesh demons. That would be a cool thematic box.
But then they'd have to admit that Slaanesh is a thing again.
I'm sorry, did I miss something? Are they cutting Slaanesh out of all the fluff?
Well, Slaanesh has, in Age of Sigmar, Slaanesh has disappeared and been replaced by the Great Horned Rat.
Okay.
So the god Slaanesh doesn't exist, even though there's still Slaaneshi demons.
Is that extending to 40K, or?
I don't know if they'll extend it to 40K, but I understand kind of why they're doing it. Because Slaanesh is not
the common consensus is that just because it's all about sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Come on.
That seems to be the reasoning. Like, they want to draw in a younger crowd, they want to draw in new players, and having She Who Thirsts is just not a good way to do that. Which is why there is not a start playing Demons of Slaanesh box. There's a start playing Demons of Khorne. There's a start playing Demons of Nurgle. I think there is a start playing Demons of Tzeentch, but there is no start playing Demons of Slaanesh.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting that they put out these box sets and they're completely one-sided.
Well, I think they know that people aren't buying the box sets to play with just the box set. They're buying the box set to supplement all existing collections or to begin a new collection. And it's not because Well, I want to play Harlequins versus Deathwatch. Well, I want a Deathwatch army, and I have to buy some Harlequins to get it.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Like, I have a small Harlequin force, so I would put those Harlequins to use. And I think there's no Zinch box yet, Rhino. I think that's because there's going to be a new push with Zinch in the near future. What with them releasing a Demon Prince Magnus plastic kit. So I think we'll see it then. But I kind of want the Deathwatch stuff as an allied force for my Sisters of Battle. Because...
that's right, because you're getting the toughest girls in the galaxy thing.
My first part of that order shipped this week, so... Yay,
nice.
I'm finally going to get some models from that, 2 years after I paid into it.
Welcome to Kickstarter.
Those were my 2 Kickstarters, were Kings of War and the Toughest Girls in the Galaxy. That was it.
Yeah, I've got a long list of Kickstarters. Anyway, so yeah, I wanted to get your opinion on that. But Jeremy, it has been fun. I think I'm gonna get going. We got some plans for the evening. So,
okay. Well,
but thanks for having me.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you for dropping by, Spencer, and it would be much appreciated if you could do it again soon.
Yeah, I'll see what I can do and see if I can pop in again sometime and lend my opinion to some stuff for what it's worth.
Yeah, well, this is the internet. Everyone's free to their opinion on the internet until someone disagrees with you.
It's true. All right. Well, guys, thanks for having me. Thanks for putting up with my shenanigans.
Yeah, we've
and then
been going for about 2.5 hours. So, well, at least that's what time I started the stream. That first half hour was probably just the intro music.
Yeah, our conversation's been about an hour or 2 hours rather. Sorry. So a bit longer than I initially intended to stay, but yeah, thanks for having me. Have fun with the rest of the stream, guys. Be nice. Jeremy is super awesome, and hopefully I will be able to stop by and hang out again.
Yeah, if we can ever get Discord working, then I can set it up so you guys can always just drop in and out anytime you want to. But that would require us getting Discord working.
Well, I'll start futzing with it on my end, because I think it's something on my end, honestly. But yeah, that'd be cool. Just let me know when you're planning to do these, and I'll try and work it in.
I've got a schedule posted up on the Twitch channel right now, which is streams on Sunday afternoons, Monday evenings, Wednesday evenings. So it's just those 3 days. But with school starting, we'll see what I decide to finally go with, because I know there's gonna be days I come home and I'm supposed to stream, but I've just had to deal with a whole bunch of 150 butt-headed 8th graders, and I don't want to talk to people.
All right, well, cool. Yeah, I'm off Sundays and Saturdays, so.
So if we do weekend streams, always feel free to come by.
Yeah, definitely, and just so everybody who's watching knows, we will be trying to do more like video gaming stuff. Maybe one of these days, Jeremy, me, you, and Zach can sit down, do a sit and chat, and play some Talisman or something.
Or Zach and I both have copies of Don't Starve together. They come with a free code.
Yeah,
so Zach and I both have a copy of Don't Starve together to give to someone. And it's like Minecraft without the crafting part.
Right. And once I get a better desktop, fun little spoiler, I plan to do BattleTech. So
and of
be
course,
on the lookout for that in the
stuff
future.
I got for you.
Yep, I plan to do XCOM. I plan to do BattleTech. I would like to do more Shadowrun, but again, it's all on me getting a new computer, and that will be sometime hopefully in the near future. Now that I'm making decent money. So, anyway, I'm out. Thanks, guys, for having me. Enjoy the rest of the stream. Jeremy, have fun.
Thanks for dropping by, Spencer. See ya.
Thanks, man. See ya.
All right, so I hope everyone got to ask the questions that they wanted to ask regarding Blue Table Painting. If not, if you come up with any questions that you would like to have answered, go ahead and write them down, and the next time we have Spencer or Zach or Ben or anyone on the stream, feel free to ask. Or you can ask me, but as I've said... oh, that's... Okay. I give the answers that I have, but I was only there for a couple years, and I was always downstairs. So my experiences are a little bit different than Spencer's, or even Ben, who was there longer than I was. I don't know. I'm not sure where to go next on this Drago. So since we've been going for 2.5 hours, I think I'm going to go ahead and call it there. I really appreciate all of you coming out to the stream. It's been great to have so many of you in the chat, having conversations, actually talking about games and what we're interested in and everything. If there's anything you'd like to see on the stream... Yeah, I know, the music got really loud right there, and I don't know why. I turned it down a little bit, it didn't seem to help. I think it was just a really loud track. But thanks for coming by. If there's anything you'd like to see on the stream, painting-wise or modeling-wise, let me know. I have huge collections of stuff. I probably have something that you'd want to see. And there doesn't seem to be anyone else online right now that I can send you over to for a host or anything, so I'm going to go ahead and sign off. I might sign back in later this evening. We'll see. But in the meantime, I need to go run some errands and get some stuff done. So thanks everyone for coming by, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and we'll see you tomorrow night, if not beforehand. All right. Later.